Now then, we're gonna try and finish chapter 1 today. So let's see how this goes.
Шустрый парнишка твоих лет. С такими же окулярами. Все книжками зачитывался. Детективами.
He's a witty boy around your age, wears the same type of goggles, haha, always engrossed in reading those mystery novels.
Когда летом погостить приезжал, говорит, что в школу милиции мечтает поступить.
Told me he wants to enroll in police school when his family visited this
Как
summer.
я. Хотел людям помогать. Смекаешь?
Wanted to help other people, just like me, see? I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative, not a police officer, stood before me.
Ох, ребятушки,
You know what?
сидите-ка вы лучше дома. Не ввязывайтесь ни во что. Жизнь сейчас совсем другая пошла.
Little boys like you should stay home, steer away from trouble. The times have changed so much. Mom interjected in a cold voice.
Мне ли не знать?
You don't say.
Ну да ладно.
Excuse me. Ah, well then.
Ты, Антон, в каком классе учишься?
What grade are you in, Anton?
В 6-м.
6th.
Друзей-то на новом месте еще не завел?
Have you made any friends here so far?
Пока нет. Я только после каникул в школу пойду.
Not yet. I'll be going to school for the first time after the break.
Тогда вот вам на всякий случай мой номер. Звоните, если узнаете что.
Ah, then I'll leave you my number, just in case. Call me if you have any new info. The policemen were gone along with their shadows, the smell of cheap cologne, and a photo of a smiling boy. His face still stood before my eyes. I wondered what it was like for him, being alone there. For some reason, I thought of the forest swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? And what would my parents do if I'd gone missing? Would they cry and thrash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other like they always do and forget about me eventually?
Мам, а Вова этот в нашем лесу заблудился?
Mom, this Vova, did he go missing in our forest?
Выходит, что так. Бедный ребенок.
Seems like it. Poor child. I looked out the window at the road. The police UAZ drove off towards the village. Officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint from the windowsill. I remembered all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I read this summer. Your average boys and girls investigated all sorts of mysteries there. They looked for clues, spied on suspicious people, and after a set of amazing ventures, bam, solved any complicated case. They became local celebrities and must have made their parents very proud. I noticed a trail of policeman footsteps that led to the forest, and then it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Maybe I'll find that lost boy, and I'll get a reward. Olia will be so happy. And not only Olia, Mom and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save us from the D word? I fantasized about buying Olia a Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player and a bunch of tapes for myself. And a whole box of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time our parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad had lost his job at the time. There's that annoying song about it. I had little to no idea what an accountant's job is like. They count money, I think. Neighbors used to envy us. But nowadays, Mom and Dad barely have money to afford sweets. And Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Olia. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out looking for clues.
Пойду погуляю.
I'm going outside.
Ага, сейчас.
Yeah, right.
Чтобы потом милиционеры с твоей фотографией по домам ходили.
You want the police to go around with your photograph next?
Лес вон какой густой.
The forest is so thick.
А если мальчика звери дикие утащили? Или того хуже?
What if the boy got snatched up by wild animals or something even worse? Even worse echoed through the
Да я
hallway.
рядом буду. В лес не пойду.
I won't go far. I'll stay away from the forest.
Что я тебе сказала? Мне дважды повторять.
Did you hear what I said, or should I repeat myself?
Лучше портфель собери или соли поиграй.
Better go pack your school bag or play with Olia. The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant the argument was over and Mom had the last word. Okay. Oh, there we go. Now there's something that says lie to Mom. I don't know if that was there last time. Okay. It was difficult to lie to Mom, but there was no other way for me to run away from home.
Мам, там что-то с телевизором случилось.
Mom, something's wrong with the TV.
Картинка какая-то тусклая, и экран весь в полосах.
The picture's dim and there's stripes all over the screen. Mom's face became visibly
Без
distorted.
ножа меня режешь. Дострелялся в уток своих.
Ah, you're killing me here. So you had enough of shooting those stupid ducks now?
Говорила же, посадите мне кинескоп своей приставкой.
Told you the kinescope would go dim because of your console.
Где мы теперь мастера найдем в дыре этой, а?
Where will we find a TV technician in this hole, huh?
Может быть, просто настройки сбились?
Maybe it's just the settings?
Сходи, посмотри, пожалуйста.
Please go see for yourself.
Нормально же работал с утра.
Strange, it worked fine in the morning.
Из-за снегопада, наверное, неполадки.
Maybe the snowfall caused it? Mom rubbed her hands clean on her apron and went to Olia's room. Let's go. Outside. Nice. I opened the front gate and went into the field. Carefully, so Mom wouldn't see me from the window. When I crossed half of the distance towards the forest, the snow piles became as high as my knees. I remembered my nightly fears. I saw those silhouettes around here. They were jumping around, holding hands. That hypnotizing music started playing in my head all on its own. In the light of day, those distant figures felt like a simple dream. The sun turned my nightmares to ash, but the aftertaste was still there. Distant ringing in my ears, distorted shadows crawling on the snow alongside me, and a barely audible whisper in my head, blurry and almost kind. Everything was silent. So silent I felt the world was totally empty. No ground, no sky, no parents, no Olia. The time reached its limit, a one-way trip that ended at the forest piney stockade. Sometimes silence was much scarier than any scream. Our parents would scream at each other while arguing, and both me and Olia turned to stone listening to. But then always came the ringing silence. Our apartment became numb a couple of days before we departed. It was hard to remember the last time Mom and Dad joked around, laughing, or spent time together, almost like all of it was in a previous life. When they kissed Olia, with Olia present, she always frowned and snorted in a funny way. But one day it all changed. Something important left our home, and something scary filled the remaining void. It was as if a fire broke out and our parents were hurriedly packing our belongings, trying to save themselves and us. From who, though? From the people with dead, cold eyes who sometimes visited us in our previous home? The eyes that only saw balls of worm on the black ground every night. And somewhere a faraway siren was going off, trying to warn us of the coming menace. I shuddered, chasing away my delusions, and looked around. There were only me, this white field, and the wind that was whipping up icy dust and belts of powdered snow. I squinted from the sun and turned my eyes to the sunless forest. It looked especially dark in contrast to the blinding whiteness. Knobby tree roots slithered under the snow like fat snakes. Rotten leaves and coniferous needles froze into the ice. Dry, prickly branches intertwined, bringing up uncomfortable thoughts about fences. Were they protecting the forest, or were they keeping something from breaking out? Some object was hanging from one of the pointy branches. I tried to get closer, drowning in snow, and then almost got to the edge of the forest. Excuse me. I saw a knitted mitten. It looked like a wounded bird among hungering semi-dark. Should I take it to the police? Their senior officer looked gloomy, but he still reminded me of Captain Casanova from my favorite TV show called The Streets of Broken Lights. He was always anxious, with a tired look in his eyes, but still brave and strong. Would this mitten help them find the lost boy? Vova! I heard a distant shout. Looked like it came from the river. Vova! As if the trees were calling out to someone. Vova! Resounded closer to me. Someone was standing there behind the trees, hiding. Vova! I knew someone was looking for the lost boy, but still, something was unsettling about that figure. Its stillness, how it was bent unnaturally towards the ground. 1 second, I'm gonna see. No, I don't think we can see anything. It's blackness. There's no one there, just branches and roots. It's all just my imagination. Yep, looks like it. A nearby bird flapped its wings loudly. Oh, there was something there. The shadow split from the tree and disappeared from my sight. I looked away for just a moment, but when I turned my gaze back to the same place, it was gone. So it was my imagination after all. Silence reigned for a painfully long time. Oh look, there's footprints leading up to it. My muscles were tightly sprung, my heart was beating somewhere in my throat. Any noise, any little movement, any small whisper from the thicket and I'd sprint. But nothing of the sort happened. I looked at the mitten once more. Let's run away. Last time we took the mitten. Lumps of snow fell between the branches and that reminded me of the sound soil makes when you throw it into the pit on top of the casket. I immediately felt dizzy as if I was balancing at a precipice. I slowly backed away from my finder. It felt like the moment I touched it, a trap would spring and the mouse would get caught. Someone walked on ice close by. My inner voice whispered, "Save yourself, run." My nerves got the better of me. I ran, burying my head in my shoulders. Someone was chasing me from the darkness, breaking pine branches, closing the distance with giant leaps. Snow was slowing me down. Crazy thoughts flew through my mind. I'll get caught. They'll get me. I'll get dragged into the thicket. I'll be gone forever. But there was one more voice, probably one of reason. It gave me strength, spurred me on. You can do it, don't stop. I heard an animal roar behind me. It was so loud my ears went numb. It felt like the sound had come from a pack of hungry beasts rather than a single one. My nostrils sucked in freezing air. They sensed my fear. 2 giant wings flapped above my head. An enormous shadow flew over the clearing, a hoop of leaves. The roars were coming from all directions now. From the dried up raspberry bush, from twisted pines, from under the windfall. Hurry, run, don't look back. It felt like I was inside a nightmare, the snowy clearing become viscous like quicksand. I was stuck in place. I pulled my leg from the mushy trap just to get caught in a new one, even deeper than before. I continued to drown, sinking deeper and deeper with every desperate push. Was snow ever this sticky? I screamed in horror after realizing this wasn't snow. Someone or something was in the snow, and the snow pile was touching my pants. I gathered all my strength and rushed forward. The pressure on my leg was gone. My boots slipped out of the hole, and my shoes were on a hard surface again. I reached a clear path with one jump from there and ran to my house. Its gloomy facade didn't look threatening now. That house was my line of defense from the shadows that flapped their wings on the creatures, and the creatures that were hidden under the snow. I tripped over the doorstep and smashed into the door. In all my hurry, I still managed to notice the claw marks, as if a dog was striking the wood with his paws, demanding to be let We were already in the front yard and Mom had locked the door. Drowning in fear, I pulled on the doorknob and it immediately gave way. I rolled into the hallway and shut the door behind me. Porch planks creaked as my pursuers ascended the stairs. My fingers slipped off the lock and I couldn't click it into place. I gritted my teeth and pulled hard on the iron knob, whipping it between the boards. I stared blankly at the door. Someone was standing on the other side of the pitiful, flimsy barrier that was probably less useful than blankets. Wheezing breath reached into the house and crashed at me in waves. It smelled of pine and sweat. Mom peeked out of the kitchen and chastised me with the same frigid voice she always used when talking to Dad.
Что конкретно тебе не ясно в просьбе не хлопай дверьми?
What exactly didn't you understand when I told you to never slam the door?
Я случайно.
I didn't mean to. I snuck a glance at the door. The smell was gone, and the breath was too. If there was someone in the first place, of course. Here, mere 5 meters away from Mom, my fear was slowly weakening, melting like snow in spring, and with it the last bit of strength I had left my body too. My legs gave way. I propped myself up against the wall so I wouldn't fall over. Mom's expression had changed immediately. The cold mask of strictness and detachment was gone. Mom looked the same as before all those quarrels. She finally saw my condition, my wet pants plastered with
Ты где
snow.
был? Я тебе что говорила, а? Чтобы ты дома сидел.
Where have you been? What did I tell you, huh? I told you to stay home.
Я и для тебя пустое место.
Am I nothing to you too? I got afraid she would cry. I reached out to her like when I was very little and wanted her to cuddle me. But Mom regained her composure fast and put on her usual face. Her eyes shined like steel. Her voice rang
У
out.
отца сигареты пропали.
Your dad can't find his
Признавайся,
cigarettes.
ты их стащил? Курить
Нет.
бегаешь?
Be honest, did you snatch them? Were you smoking in secret?
Там за мной кто-то гнался. Я думал, меня...
There was someone chasing me. I thought... I stuttered as soon as I started explaining myself. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mom leaned toward me and sniffed my clothes like a beast, searching for the smell of tobacco. She squinted her eyes in suspicion and looked into the front yard. Her expression changed in an instant and she covered her mouth with her
Гляди,
hand.
вон же они. Прямо у забора.
Look over there, at the fence. My heart started thumping as if I became prey once again and my pursuers were following me in the field. I could swear that I've heard something scratch at the door, just like in my nightmare. Mom beckoned me with her finger and I gathered all my remaining bravery to look into the kitchen window, facing my fear. I could barely discern some hairy silhouettes swimming in the snow through the icy winter patterns on the glass. Dogs. Just a small pack of strays with no name and owner, barely reminding me of the hungry monsters that live at the on the edge of the forest.
Божечки,
Oh,
ты их
good.
испугался? Да они сами тебя перепугаются, Антон.
Were you scared of them? I think they'd rather be scared of you, Anton.
Они гнались за мной, словно за зайцем.
They were chasing me like a bunny.
А вдруг они бешеные?
And what if they're rabid? The smile slowly disappeared from Mom's face. Now she looked at the dogs as if it was her first time seeing
Что если
them.
они нападут на Олю?
What if they attack Olia?
Мам,
Mom?
Вот бы твой отец их
Sorry,
всех
I guess I
перестрелял.
didn't need to say that one. I wish your dad could just shoot them all.
мама, они живые.
Mom, look, they're alive.
А что?
Huh? What?
Ты уж определись? Они тебе друзья или враги?
Are they your friend or foe after all? Make up your
Не
mind.
маленький ведь уже.
You're not a little kid anymore. Well, some detective I am. In reality, I wasn't risking my life among monsters, but rather my pants among a pack of stupid strays. I wanted to sink through the floor from embarrassment.
Иди сюда, паникер.
Come here, my boy, who cried wolf.
Да не стой столбом.
Don't
Вот,
just
таблетку на. Быстро пей.
Don't just stand there. Come take your pills. A golden colored pill, reminiscent of a dead wasp, fell into my palm.
Я уже пил сегодня, за завтраком.
I already took one during breakfast.
Попререкайся мне еще.
Don't talk over me.
Сказала дома сидеть, нет же.
I told you to stay home and
Был бы отец, выпорол.
Dad would have given you a good whipping for that.
Сейчас же выпей, а то ночью не уснешь. Тебе ведь в школу завтра.
Come on, take it or you won't be able to sleep at night and you have school tomorrow. So I had to swallow the bitter medication, drinking it down with similarly awful water that gave off a taste of chlorine. Maybe it wasn't Vova's mitten. Maybe it wasn't a mitten at all. Just like the forest monsters and Olia's owl. Am I going mad? What's happening to me? Either the pill had immediate effect or my overexerted brain didn't let fear inside anymore. Serenity washed over me, bringing yawning indifference along with it.
Антон, выпил? Можешь, если захочешь.
Anton, you done? See, you can do it when you try.
Раздевайся. Уснул, что ли?
Take off your coat. Are you asleep?
Нет, мам, просто задумался.
No, Mom, I was just thinking.
Интересно, о чем же?
About what, I
Так,
wonder.
глупости всякие.
It's just something silly. Mom scrutinized me with suspicious eyes, as if she wasn't sure she was looking at her own son and not some doppelganger that came from the forest.
Точно все нормально?
Is everything
У тебя
alright?
такое лицо было, когда милиционер про окно спросил.
You had the exact same expression when the policeman asked you about the
Все
window.
нормально, мам.
I'm alright, Mom. She heaved a deep sigh.
Хорошо.
Fine. It seemed like the house had changed. The sofa's fabric had become discolored. Fingerprints appeared on the bathroom tiles. The light bulbs also felt different, dimmer and yellower. Even the saliva inside my mouth had a different taste. A melody from Aladdin came from the upper floor. Olia was done rewatching her favorite Little Mermaid episode and switched to other tapes. I slowly changed into my home clothes, stopped before the sink and studied my reflection in the mirror, like I was trying to solve one of those spot the difference puzzles. So I went upstairs. Jafar and Lago's voices died down. Yago, sorry. I think so. Yeah. Okay. I walked past Olia's bedroom and slipped into my own. A simple action drained the last bit of strength from me. I sat on the bed. And only then I noticed there was someone behind the curtains. My tired hand dropped to the sheets. Whether it was due to the medication I took or the stress I underwent, the room began to contort, as if the wind was blowing the walls out like a pair of sails. The corner of the room bent and undulated. The only stable thing in the whole room was a figure between the windowsill and the curtains. A flimsy piece of cloth was stuck to my hidden visitor, like a shroud. Olia? Who else would be standing there? I stood up and licked my dried lips.
Оля, очень смешно.
Yeah, Olia, it's so funny. The silhouette was enveloped softly by the curtains, as if there was a thick layer of darkness there, not a human being. I reached towards the curtains, but my heart beat my heart, controlled by medication. The wind sang in the field with a chorus of voices. For a second I wanted to return to the bed, just lie down and watch the person behind the curtain, knowing full well they were looking back at me. They were looking without blinking, waiting for me to fall asleep.
Попался!
Gotcha!
Да я сразу понял, что это ты.
I knew it was you from the beginning. A blindly bright halo lit up above Olia's head with the setting sun as the background. My sister was shining. When she was just a baby, Dad always used to say she was shining with happiness. I always retorted, "But Dad, she's not some flashlight." But I brought her to the window one day and sunlight poured on her smiling face. I felt like I was holding a light woven
А
child.
почему к нам милиция приходила? Ты что-то натворил?
Why did the police come? Did something happen? Oh, no. Did you do something?
Нет, конечно. Скажешь тоже.
No, of course not.
Это из-за совы, да?
It's because of the owl, isn't it? I showed her a worried smile and rubbed
Один
her
мальчик
head.
потерялся в лесу.
A boy got lost in the
О,
woods.
ему, наверное, там очень холодно.
Oh, he must be really cold out
А его
there.
найдут?
Will they find him?
Обязательно.
They will.
Участковый по домам ходит, всем фотографию его показывает.
The police are going house to house showing its photo to everybody. Olia traversed the room with care and pressed her tiny palms against the
А
window.
почему он по домам ходит, а не по лесу?
And why are they going to the houses and not the forest?
Боится?
Are they scared? The question caught me off guard.
Милиционеры ничего не боятся.
The police aren't scared of
И лес
anything.
они прочесали.
They've already scouted the forest. I changed the topic, as if trying to get Olia as far away as possible from the forest thicket.
Если я сам найду пропавшего мальчика, нам, может, награду дадут.
We may get a reward if I go and find this boy by myself.
Кучу всякого, как в поле чудес.
A lot of stuff, like in the Wheel of
Клёво же.
Fortune. Sounds cool, right? Olia wasn't listening to me. She asked in a hushed voice while piercing the forest with incredibly adult eyes, uncharacteristic for her.
А что, если эта сова его утащила?
What if the owl got him?
Ерунда. Не может
Nonsense.
сова поднять человека.
An owl won't be able to lift a
Ну
human.
вот что.
But you know what? I was picking my words with utmost care. I forced them out of my overexerted
Ты в лес
brain.
не суйся. Мне кажется, он какой-то,
Stay away from the forest. I think
как бы
it's...
сказать, проклятый, что ли.
How should I put it? It's cursed or something.
Как в сказке?
Just like in a fairy
Нет,
tale?
скорее, как на той страшной кассете, что родители прячут.
No, more like in that spooky tape our parents hide from us. Olia shivered and stole a glance at the window. As I looked at my sister, my heart was tearing apart. She's so fragile. It was so easy to stifle her light. A gust of wind and her small figure would be gone.
Хорошо тебе.
You're
Меня вот
lucky.
мама не пускает даже на крыльцо.
Mom won't even let me go
Как
outside.
принцесса в башне сижу.
I'm like,
Никуда не могу выйти.
I'm like a princess in a tower. Can't go anywhere.
Так и умру тут от скуки.
I'll die from boredom
Не
here.
придумывай.
You're
От
wrong.
скуки еще никто не умирал.
No one has ever died of
У
boredom.
тебя же есть я и мультики, а мама с папой скоро помирятся.
And you have me and your cartoons, and mom and dad will be good to each other soon.
Знаешь, что бы я загадала на следующий день рождения?
You know what I would wish for on my next
Чтобы
birthday?
родители тоже в детей превратились. И мы бы все вместе играли, как раньше.
I'd wish for mom and dad to turn into children so we could go and play together like we used to.
Ага. А если бы они стали размером с жука, то мы бы их в спичечный коробок посадили.
Yeah, and if you'd make them as small as bugs, we could place them into a little box. Olia giggled and tugged at my
Тоша, пойдем
sleeve.
Аладдина смотреть.
Tosha, let's go watch Aladdin. Fatigue won over my desire to be with my little sister. I was washed over by some sort of heinous apathy.
Вымотался я. Что-то не хочется.
I'm too tired. I don't want to.
Ну пойдем.
Come on.
Мне скучно одной, а мама занята все время.
It's so boring alone, and mom is always
Можно
busy.
выбрать другой мультик, который ты еще не видел.
We can pick a cartoon you haven't
Да
seen
я все
before.
наши кассеты наизусть знаю.
I know all of our tapes by heart at this point.
А вот и не все. Ты Питера Пэна не видел.
Not all of them. You haven't watched Peter Pan.
Помнишь, ты уснул на середине?
Remember how you fell asleep in the middle of it?
А там потом такое. Ну пойдем. Пойдем.
And so much happens after that. Let's go. Let's go.
Давай попозже.
Maybe a bit later.
Рассказать тебе, чем все закончилось?
Should I tell you how it
Утром
ends?
расскажешь.
Let's leave that for tomorrow.
Утром не захочу.
I won't tell you tomorrow.
Придумала. А давай в прятки.
I know. Let's play hide and seek.
Нет, Оль.
No, Olia.
Тогда нарисуй мне динозавра.
Then draw me a dino.
Оля, блин.
Нарисуй, нарисуй.
Draw it. Draw it.
Да оставь ты меня в покое!
Leave me alone already. I blurted it out without thinking, and then I was immediately taken aback. I'd never screamed at my little sister like that. Olia stared at me in shock. Her lips started trembling as a precursor to tears. My chest was seething with disgust and embarrassment. What's happening to me? I hurried to prevent Olia from
Ладно,
crying.
уболтала. Давай смотреть мультики. Только недолго.
All right, Ewan, let's go watch cartoons for a bit.
Уже не хочу.
I don't wanna. I came up to her, put my hand on her
Пойдем.
soft head. Let's
Питера
go.
Пэна посмотрим.
Let's watch Peter Pan.
Ага, ты опять уснешь.
You'll fall asleep again. I smiled and lifted her chin. Her eyes were wet and felt
Не
bottomless.
усну, обещаю.
I promise I
А
won't.
потом я тебе целого трицератопса нарисую.
And I'll draw you a full triceratops later.
Ура! Трипи! Сири! Попса!
Ну, почти.
Well, close enough. Aaliyah rubbed her eyes with the sleeve of her pajamas, and a shining smile returned to her
Давай ты
face.
пока кассету перемотаешь, а я у мамы попрошу сгущенки с хлебом.
I'll go ask Mom for condensed milk and bread, and you rewind the tape.
Только утром свежий привезли, как ты любишь.
The bread is fresh, just how you like it.
Неси, только аккуратнее, а то разольешь.
Alright, just be careful not to spill the milk,
Опять ругаться будут.
or you'll be yelled at again.
Спорим, не разолью.
Wanna bet I won't
Кассета
spill it?
где-то в тумбочке. Поищи пока.
The tape is somewhere on the nightstand. Look for it. Aaliyah disappeared in the doorway, and I dragged my feet to the neighboring room. The old Photon TV was gathering dust in the corner. All that was left was clicking the button on the front panel. The tube warmed up and familiar white noise started dancing on the black screen. I almost reached out to turn on the VCR when the noise calmed down and a blurry image appeared for a moment. It was the taiga forest, just like the one outside my window. The picture split. The screen in half. Something creepy resembling human speech was coming out of the speaker. Just a few moments later, the scenery was overshadowed by noise. Did I catch some rogue signal? Local TV station only really showed Soviet cartoons, and even that was pretty rare. And only recently I used to watch the Robotech from school. It was so awesome. Maybe I should tinker with the antenna and see if I can catch this channel again. On the other hand, Olia asked me to find the tape. It wouldn't be nice to disappoint her, but in my sleepy state I didn't have strength to do all of it. Okay, this time we're gonna try this. Ooh, that sounded weird. The picture finally cleared up, but the moment I rejoiced at finding the weird signal again, the TV started coughing, a voice barely coming through the cacophony.
Видели его часто.
He was often seen
Именно тогда.
at the moment when small snowy hills were lined up on the screen, pierced with rickety crosses, and a male voice was narrating a slow, mournful voice.
Стояла беспросветная кладбищенская ночь.
It was a pitch black night at the cemetery.
В то мрачное время маленькая Сеня встретила свою судьбу в лице чудовищного обитателя дикой чащобы.
In that fateful dark time, little Senya met her fate at the face of a monstrous thicket dweller.
Местные называют его не иначе, как хозяин леса.
The locals call him none other than the forest master. I froze and did my best not to move, as if by doing that I could scare away the narrator. I listened closely to his every word.
Зверь разобрался с беспомощной девочкой по-хозяйски.
The beast dealt with the helpless girl in a masterful manner. The camera panned across the snow with something black spilled all over it, looking for ragged pieces of cloth that were thrown around all over the place. I didn't want to think whether Senya's remains were wrapped in there, so I shut my eyes without thinking. The voice
Волки
continued.
здесь редкие гости.
Wolves are rare guests in these parts.
Вот что поведала нам Баба Тамара, обитательница одного из местных склепов.
Here's what Tamara, the old woman that lives in a nearby crypt, had to say. A close-up shot of the face of an old homeless woman weary from life and alcohol abuse rattled on the screen.
Да, бестия страшенная, хуже мертвеца отрытого.
Such a fearsome beastie it is. Worse than the rising dead. The woman splattered saliva all over the rectangular mic. Oh,
И смердит
there's
что?
something back there. And the stink, it's like
Немытый!
the rest of her comparison was swallowed up by the sound of a
Не
horn.
припомню я такой вони.
I've never felt anything like that.
Стояла эта тварюга там, где ты, милок, сейчас стоишь, и таращилась на меня прям посередь дня.
It was just standing there, yes, right where you stand, Boyo, and pierced me with its eyes right in the middle of the day.
Здоровенно такая, глаза стеклянные.
It was so huge, that one with glassy eyes. Obscenities were covered by another beep.
Говорят, что ежели тебе этот дьявол заприметить, то сунет в мешок к себе и дел с концом.
You know, they say if this demon lays its eyes on you, it'll snatch you, put you in his bag, and you're done.
Но меня он не трогает. Ха-ха.
But he won't touch me.
Видать, нравлюсь я ему.
Likes me, it seems.
Вот и зовут меня чертовой невестой.
So they even call me the devil's wench.
Что правда, то правда.
And it's definitely true.
Опустившимися до звериного образа жизни, хищник брезгует, предпочитая детскую невинную кровь.
The carnivorous monster will not touch those who fell to the level of forest beasts, going for innocent child's blood instead.
Теперь все чаще хозяина леса видят в поселениях на периферии нашей родины.
The forest master's presence is often more and more on the outskirts of our country, is felt more and more on the outskirts of our country. Torn between believing in what I was said and shrugging it away, I decided to record the remaining part of the documentary for some reason. I quickly grabbed the tape that was on top of the TV and put it into the VCR without even looking at the cover. No! Is he gonna record over one of her shows? Oh no. I pressed record, turned the sound up, and paid attention to the slipping signal.
Хозяином леса его прозвали не просто так.
It's not called the Forest Master for nothing.
Ему подчиняются все звери, пернатые и лохматые. Они предвестники появления самого чудовища.
All of the animals obey it, be they hairy or feathery. They're all precursors of for its appearance.
Если слышите вой вдалеке, то, скорее всего, он знает, где вы живете.
If you hear howls in the distance, then it most likely already knows where you live.
Если порог дома истоптан звериными следами, а за окном караулят птицы, прячьтесь, он уже идет за вами.
If you find animal prints all over your doorstep and birds watching you from the trees, you better hide. It's already coming for
А
you.
если однажды ночью, проснувшись, вы увидите глаза в окне, то скоро,
And if you wake up at night and see a pair of eyes in your window,
скоро,
then soon.
скоро, 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 скоро.
Oh boy. Maybe someone like had an issue last year thinking of piercing I got goosebumps all over my spine. The tape ended and was rewinding to the beginning. The sound of rustling tape reminded me of leaves in the wind and the low howl of the beast. I woke from my stupor and pressed the button. The VCR ejected the tape, and for a moment I thought it was stained with saliva, but it was just the light from the chandelier making the black plastic glossy. Then I saw the cover. Oops, I recorded over Peter Pan. He did it. Oh no. What's gonna happen now? That's what I get for hurrying. It was bad enough that I ruined Olia's cartoon, but I also put this creepy stuff over it. I can't let her see this. We'll drown in tears. I snuck a glance at the door. I hear the clatter of glass and the squeaky floorboards. Oli appeared in the
Ты не
doorway.
смотришь без меня?
You haven't started without me, have you? My sister brought the tray and unevenly cut bread and a whole can of condensed milk.
Нет,
No.
я пока кассету ищу.
I was looking
А
for
ты
the
точно
tape.
хочешь Питера Пэна смотреть?
Excuse me. Do you really want to watch Peter Pan?
Хочу, хочу!
I do.
Включай скорее, а то мама скоро сядет свой бразильский сериал смотреть.
Turn it on already. Mom will come watch her Brazilian drama soon. Come on, think. Fake detective.
Честно, мне как-то Питер Пэн совсем не понравился.
You know, I don't like Peter
Может,
Pan.
лучше «Русалочку»?
Maybe we should watch Little Mermaid instead.
Русалочку я уже насмотрелась.
I've already seen it so many
А
times.
ты обещал.
And you promised me. She's so
Придумал.
stubborn.
Давай сначала пару серий «Черепашек-ниндзя». Согласна?
I know, let's watch a couple of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle episodes first. Deal? Aaliyah frowned, but ultimately gave up. She put down the tray and crossed her hands on her chest.
Если так сильно просишь,
If you want it so much,
откроешь сгущенку.
can you,
Порезаться боюсь. Края острые.
can you open the milk can? I'm afraid I'll cut myself with the sharp edges. As soon as I stood up, colorful dots popped before my eyes, and my sore legs were pierced by thousands of needles. Only when I reached for the sofa, I realized the can was already open. Olia had tricked me, played me for a fool. My stomach became heavy. I wanted to rush towards the TV, but my little sister was faster. She picked up the remote and proclaimed in a victorious tone,
Повелся, повелся.
"Gotcha, gotcha."
Владычица пульта приказывает смотреть Питера Пэна.
As the remote's master, I command you to watch Peter Pan. I couldn't even open my mouth on the VCR was already eaten the accursed tape. She'll play it, and then black crosses on unnamed graves, empty crypts, bloody scrapes on the window, scraps on the snow, and the insane devil's wench. I'd better tell the truth.
Оля, стой!
Olia,
Я
stop.
тебе конец кассеты нечаянно стер.
I erased the end of your tape by
Отдай ее
accident.
мне и возьми любые две мои.
I'll trade it with you for two of mine.
Ты чего?
What do you mean?
Не мог ты стереть? Мы с папой всем кассетам зубики пластмассовые выломали. Отверткой.
You couldn't erase it. Me and Dad had broken off all those plastic pins with a screwdriver.
Теперь ни на один мой мультфильм ничего записать нельзя.
You can't record anything over my cartoons now. My sister pressed the triangular play button on the remote. I squeezed on the inside, awaiting the out-of-this-world voice of the narrator. But I saw the duel between Peter Pan and Captain Hook instead. I sighed in relief. My head, heavy as a laden ball, now rested in my hands. Olia smiled in joy. She put the tape on rewind and started spreading milk over her bread. And when the cartoon started, she forgot about everything in the world. As if she really got transported into Neverland, like she always wished. To be honest, I also imagine myself there, in a land where one never ages, where no one argues over little things, where no one listens to fights and the sound of broken plates at night. But now Peter Pan's land was especially far away from me. My thoughts dragged on, stumbled upon the horned beast that awaited me among the trees, and the narrator's mournful voice haunted me, sliding over bushes and ravines. A winged carnivore would track its prey. I felt like I was dreaming with my eyes still open. Then my sister's scream pulled me back to reality.
Тоша, скорее, штору задерни!
Tosha, shut the curtains fast.
Зачем?
Why?
Никто же на тебя не смотрит.
No one's watching you.
Уже темно, а когда темнеет, прилетает сова.
It's dark, and when it's dark, the owl comes.
Я боюсь.
I'm scared. I got out of bed and fighting my drowsiness, I closed the curtains. I did my best not to look outside, toward the treetops, toward the taiga forest, which seemingly drew closer and closer. Of course, it was just a visual effect from the shadows of branches scraping the snow.
Тоша, мама думает, что я напридумывала про сову.
Mom thinks I made the owl up,
И папа считает, что раз я маленькая, это значит врушка.
And Dad too thinks I'm a liar since I'm small.
А сова есть.
But the owl
Вот
exists.
честная-пречестная, есть она.
Honestly it
Ты
does.
же мне веришь?
You do believe me,
Что
right?
она там и каждую ночь прилетает и...
That it comes every night and I swiftly grabbed Olia's hand and looked her in the eyes. I was trying to transfer at least some of my courage and determination. But did I really have those
Я тебе
qualities?
верю, слышишь?
Yes, I believe you,
Ты
alright?
только родителям больше не рассказывай про сову.
Just don't nag our parents about it
У
anymore.
них и так хлопот по горло, они только рассердятся.
They're already dealing with a lot, so they'll just get mad
Ты
at
мне
you.
говори, если что случится.
Come and tell me if anything
И в окно не
happens.
смотри.
And don't look out the
Но она
window.
хочет, чтобы я смотрела.
But it wants me to look.
Перехочет.
Doesn't matter.
Притворись, что ее нет и не было никогда, что она выдумка, как родители говорят.
Act like it doesn't exist and never existed, like it's made up, just like Mom and Dad say.
Ей ждать надоест, она улетит.
It'll get tired of waiting and fly away. We followed Peter Pan's adventures as if nothing happened, as if the forest didn't kidnap kids, as if our parents weren't tearing each other apart bit by bit. Captain Hook was running away from a crocodile, and Captain Pan was heading to London on a gilded sailboat. By some miracle, I lasted longer than my little sister. Olia's eyelids had dropped. She started snorting lightly, resting her chin on the side of the bed. The chorus was singing the ending song. The world at Disney was lit up by a silvery moon. There it is again. Another moon peeked from under the first one. Scary and hanging over the taiga forest. The horrific report got recorded right over the credits. My throat went dry. My pulse became faster. I looked toward Olia. She smacked her lips in her sleep. I squeezed the remote with all my might and ready to press stop any moment. I rewound the recording, checked if it was intact, and then carefully took out the tape. The protective pin was still in place. I stood up and left Olia's room. Whether it was by providence or by curse, I hid the tape in the exact moment Mom peeked into my room.
Довольно баловства.
Enough playing around.
Завтра первый день в школе.
It's your first day at school tomorrow.
Ложись, тебе надо выспаться.
Go to bed, you should sleep properly.
Не хочешь же ты, чтобы тебя все дразнили Соней?
You don't want to be teased for being sleepy, right? Adults make everything so simple, as if sound sleep would ensure my classmates would like me. I covered myself with a blanket up to my neck and listened to the house humming to something invisible rustling in the corners. My inner voice had a question for me. Do I want to hear that mysterious flute again? Yes or no? Maybe it's just a part of growing up and I can't fully understand my own desires. The forest wailed behind the barrier that was my walls. Some ethereal entity wandered the fields. Branches shook as if calling for me. The wind howled on in the night. My thoughts were like annoying flies that entered my head before becoming weak and tangled. I didn't notice how I fell into a slumber. It has come, after all, the day I feared the most, the first day of a new school term. Episode 2, hey! Okay, on to the new stuff. This is gonna be interesting. Okay, 1 second. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you stay tuned for the next one. Bye.